Hey, everybody. It is Becky, John, and Will here today, ready to have another exciting conversation of what we're seeing in the world of digital advertising. From the lead side of things, we've got a lot of people that are looking to either begin digital advertising who have been running their own campaigns. We've been talking to a lot of people that are, looking to switch agencies or go from an in-house person that's managing their PPC campaigns to an agency. And a lot of times they have very in-depth questions about different types of campaigns, structures, and things like that. And I think overwhelmingly, the most difficult campaign type for people to understand right now is Performance Max, or PMax as we'll call it probably throughout most of this video. And one specific question that a lot of people have, specifically we had a client come through yesterday that we were talking through, is about segmenting Performance Max campaigns, how that needs to be done, how it's monitored. And so I'd really like to turn the conversation over to you, John, and you, Will, today to discuss exactly what we're seeing when it comes to Performance Max segmentation and how we're implementing that for our current clients.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. Here's what I'll do. I'll kind of lay out the different common ways that exist to segment Performance Max campaigns, and then I'd love to get your thoughts on how we're thinking about that and which ones we're seeing work or not work, or just how we're kind of approaching the options. We're going to focus on e-commerce businesses because that's the big thing where segmentation comes in, is when you're talking about a product feed and having multiple products, and the question being, do I throw them all into one PMax campaign? Do I create multiple, etc.? So the options you have are kind of A, throw everything into one campaign. B, you could segment by product category or type. So if you sell pillowcases and sheets and duvet covers, for example, having separate campaigns for each of those categories of products. Or you could also do it by profit margin. So if you've got this bucket of products where you have a 50% profit margin, this bucket with a 25% product margin, you probably want a different target return on ad spend for those because they're worth different amounts to you. So you might lump them together and have separate campaigns so you can have separate targets. And then also sometimes you'll come across this idea of zombie SKUs, they call them. This idea where maybe you've got a Performance Max campaign that's running and a bunch of the products that are in the product feed just aren't getting any impressions at all. And so you move those into their own campaign with their own budget to try and force Google to give them impressions and see how they perform. I think those are probably the most common ways to segment. I'm sure there's other things as well you can use, but those are probably the most common ways that I see and think about segmenting Performance Max campaigns in terms of what the options are that are available. And Will, I'd love to get your thoughts. What are we doing? What are we seeing? How are we thinking about this for our clients when it comes to those options?
We've tested all of those and more strategies for our accounts because ultimately it's not necessarily a one size fits all. It's what does the data show? What does your specific situation mean we should test first versus something else? And so there are times when we'll have everything. Maybe you don't have thousands and thousands of SKUs, and so it makes sense, given your vertical, to have everything in one campaign and allow Google to then optimize off of where the best results are coming from. Where are you seeing the most profitability? Where is the most potential lie as far as the market at that time? At the same time, if you do have enough SKUs and it makes sense, dividing by product category is really helpful, especially if you have different margins for those things. You want to keep that in consideration. But ultimately, letting the results decide what you move forward with. One thing I've tested recently for a couple of accounts in particular has been this zombie SKU idea, where it's like, okay, these products aren't getting impressions in this one campaign. Let's break them out, give them opportunity to get some spend all to themselves. Recently, the results have not been something that I would want to continue. That the one I ran a few months ago, they got impressions. Google was happy to spend that money, but we weren't able to break even with focusing on those zombie SKUs, and so we ended up moving them back to the original campaign. And then more recently, the same thing where, hey, these specific products aren't getting a lot of traffic or no traffic at all. Is there a reason for that? Are we missing out on opportunity because we're limited by budget? Put them into their own campaign, and the results so far, there's been a handful of transactions, but not something that we'd want to continue if things don't turn around. So definitely take advantage of different asset groups and making sure your creative is really specific and targeted. But as far as the campaign segmentation goes, letting the data drive where you go and how you optimize that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and seeing the same thing as well. You know, the clients that I'm working directly with is kind of there's not a right and wrong answer right now, where across the board I'm going to say you should always do X, you should always do Y, because there are so many nuances, and like you said, we're still testing things, so that perspective may evolve over time as we see, hey, consistently approach A or B seems to work the best. But then also Google's always changing PMax, so just because we figure out something that works well doesn't mean it's going to keep working with the next iteration. So always something new to learn, to test, and at the end of the day, let the data dictate what works and what doesn't. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful. If you have Performance Max campaigns and you are tired of figuring out the black box, or trying to make these types of decisions, hey, we'd love to help and chat through things and see maybe we should help you run those moving forward. So you can reach out through StubGroup.com. Love to chat and see how we can help. Until next time, John, Becky, Will signing off.